Jamaica Diaspora Crime Intervention and Prevention Task Force, in association with the Global Jamaican Diaspora Council, presents on the 26th of July 2024, Jamaicans and Friends of Jamaica. Join us in conference as we speak against corruption, crime, poverty, failed healthcare, poor education, and injustice in Jamaica. This takes place on the 26th of July at 1320 Ellesmere Road, Ontario, Canada. This conference starts 3 till 10 p.m. Guest speakers on the day: Wayne Lonesome, Will Rattigan, Mystic Sensation, Herb Nelson Jr., Aromatic, Sister Maria, Jamaican Carlos, Dr. Rupert Francis, Jeffrey Tavares, and more. This is going to be a very important event for all Jamaicans and friends of Jamaica. Don't miss this event if you care about our country. Jamaicans in the diaspora, we can make a difference.
Hello, welcome. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to everyone. Happy Tuesday to those in television land. Happy Tuesday to our silent supporters. Happy Tuesday to everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for tuning in. They appreciate the continued support. Thank you for your continued support of the movement. Share if you can, and if you're new to the channel, please show us some support by subscribing. That would be greatly appreciated. I'm glad to see that a lot of persons have gotten their electricity back since the passing of Beryl. I know there's still a lot of work being done to restore to other areas of the island, but it's good to see that quite a number of persons have indeed gotten their electricity back. And hope the recovery effort in terms of those who are picking up the pieces from their damaged homes and whatever other structure gets got damaged. Hope that the recovery process is going great. I know some persons are saying that they're not receiving any aid, but hopefully with time things will fall into place, and we'll continue praying for each and every one and keeping everybody in our thoughts as usual. So guys, let me just welcome those in the chat. Young, Howard Shaw, Tanya Foster, Morris Williams, Truck Life, Montague James, Don Mel, Noreen McLean, Jeanette Letts, Gilmore Jarrett, Rennie Swaby, Dolores Logan, Meline Bowman, Mitchie, Albeculan HVAC Services, Doris McKay, Beverly Edwards, Winnie Mead, Brittany L, Judith Livermore, Freedom. Welcome. Happy Tuesday. I hope I didn't say Friday before. So stuck on Friday. Happy Tuesday to each and everyone. Without any further delay, I am going to hand over to Byron, who will start the discussion. Oh, I'm sorry, our topic for tonight is Dictator in the Making.
All right. Thank you, honey, for that usual precursor there. Well, as you see, the thumbnail, the Third Reich, and of course, Hitler anointing the Prime Minister there, right? Now, as we see that the Jamaica Prime Minister, no doubt, right, is a dictator. So it's no more on a borderline to say that the Prime Minister is becoming a dictator. The Prime Minister is a dictator based on his actions, right? Now, we have seen the opposition leader, very active as it relates to visiting many of these areas, right? That unfortunately, as a result of the passing of Beryl, right? Those persons being damaged, those areas being damaged, and the opposition leader has been busy going through those areas. I'm going to share some of those clips later. Right. I am going to also share some information as it relates to the Integrity Commission report. And honestly, people, I'm going to show you because I just received it. I have just received the Integrity Commission report that has been tabled. So yes, I have it. And I have not gotten the time to break it down because, as I said, right, I just received it less than half an hour ago. So I want to be given some time, right, to break it down. And I hope that, you know, the situation as it relates to illicit enrichment, where the 6 persons are concerned, will be in that report, right? So I'm going to show, right, of course, that I have that report, but we're not able to break it down for you tonight because I need to get the chance to go through the detail of that report on Friday, right? We are going to discuss the detail of that report. So I want to make sure I break it down properly, right, to give it to you, right?
Oh, Sonia says she's at page 9.
Oh, Sonia is at page 9.
272 pages.
Yes, and here Sonia is saying that she's at page 9 with it.
So she recently got it.
So she recently got it as well. And so is what, 200 and something page, right? So we have to make sure that we are breaking it down properly, right? And then, of course, we are going to deliver the information on that. Now, my gentle people, I want to start. First, I want to say big up to Brother Herb Nelson. Thanks to join us on the panel, right? We welcome you, sir, right, to be a part of tonight's program, right? We really appreciate that. Thank you, Sir Herb.
Thank you very much, Byron, and your esteemed commander-in-chief sitting next to you.
All right, thank you.
And to your guests as well.
Exactly.
People in the comments. I really appreciate their comments. I'm just looking them over as you speak. So, and I haven't had a chance to go through the Integrity Commission report. One glaring thing that stood out, it's no longer the 6 they're talking about. First, they spoke about the 8. Then they drop it down to the 6. Now they drop it down to 2. So it means that somehow 6 people have now complied and made declarations. I don't know if the Prime Minister is one. I don't know if his wife is one. But I didn't get a chance to go through it. So that's the interesting part.
All right. Thank you for that brief info there, right? But we'll be breaking it down, right? And of course, we will, of course, get into the detail on that Friday. We'll be coming out with the details, right? Now, let us look on the first report that we have here. Now, some time ago, as it relates to on the Bruce Golding-led government, the killing of Mr. Clark, right? So I want to tell people that, right, there's still some processing going on in the court. And I want to show persons as it relates to one of the forensic analysts, what the forensic analyst has been saying. And this is very recent, so I want to share that with people. Jamaica Cleaner, unusual circumstances surrounding forensic.
Okay. All
right, so we're going to get into that as it relates to Mr. Clark's death, right? And that's what, Nigel Clark's uncle, I believe. So let us get into that. All right, here it is, people. Let us get into the first thing here. Unusual circumstances surrounding forensic analysis in Keith Clark murder trial. Right, a former government forensic analyst on Monday admitted that it was very unusual for her to have been asked to visit Keith Clark's murder scene 5 months after he was fatally shot. Now let us get into the detail. The witness, who had served in the post for 33 years and had covered more than 100 number 3 scenes, further shared on the cross-examination that it was the first time in her career that she was asked to carry out an investigation and assessment at a scene so late. She further testified that had she visited the scene on the day of the number 3 or a day after, she would have been able to provide a more comprehensive and accurate analysis. Additionally, the forensic analyst said she was never told whether the scene was protected, and she agreed that the possibility of it being contaminated would have been very high by then. The expert witness was testifying in the Home Circuit Court, where Lance Corporal Greg Tinglin and Odell Buckley, as well as Private Arnold Henry, are on trial for Clark's murder before Justice Dale Palmer. The 63-year-old businessman was shot 21 times. People, I want you to listen to this. I want people to hear this. The 63-year-old businessman was shot 21 times at his Kirkland Close St. Andrew home on May 27, 2010, during a police military operation to apprehend then fugitive drug lord Christopher Dudas Cope. And it was not until October that the witness was instructed to visit the scene. My, take it away. Let us ask Brother Herb some questions as it relates to that. So, Brother Herb, based on what the forensic expert is saying, right, as it relates to this case, pretty much unusual, right, that a scene like that happened and the forensic was not called in, right, immediate after or a day after, but tends to call in 5 months after Mr. Clark, Keith Clark, have been shot 21 times. That seems like his death was deliberate in the sense that it was ordered for him to be killed. What you have to say about it, Sir Herb?
Sorry about that, folks.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, Baron. I've been following this case for quite some time now. And my disappointment comes in the fact that no Lance Corporal, Corporal, Sergeant, Private has any authority to conduct a kill or capture mission on their own without direction and without supervision. None. I don't care what army you're in. There's nobody who is that competent at those ranks to make a decision to kill somebody. The other thing that our listeners need to note, there is no military where the field commander, a colonel, who is responsible for giving directions, who is responsible for staking out areas prior to any incursion, prior to any action, having the intelligence apparatus, in this case, the military intelligence unit, was on the scene and would have known whether or not Dudas was present in the household or not. There is no excuse for sending in those people. And those people didn't make that decision on their own. And it's a cowardly DPP that has refused to charge the field commander, who happens to be Lieutenant General Rocky Meade, got promoted, refused to charge him. He is responsible for everything that happens or fails to happen in the area of operations. It's on his shoulder. Now, if the order came from higher up, it would have come through the Chief of Defense Staff or the Brigadier, who's the Deputy Commander at the time, who happens to be Anthony Anderson, Brigadier Anthony Anderson at the time. He too got promoted. And the Chief of Defense Staff went on to become the National Security Advisor in St. Kitts and Nevis. So what you have here, Baron, is a situation that there is no accountability nor transparency in this situation. All right?
Okay.
I haven't even spoken about the evidence gathering at all, because that's Mickey Mouse. Nobody waits 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Plus, keep in mind, Baron,
Yes.
the scene of the shooting was contaminated by several soldiers, not police officers. Police officers know better than to enter a crime scene. Soldiers polluted that scene. So there's no way they could have gotten an accurate reading as to how many people were there, how many fingerprints were there, and exactly what happened. So now they're asking this woman who's been, I guess, suffering or mourning her husband, the loss of him. They're asking her to remember all of this stuff when they're the ones that staged the scene. They're the ones that sent these guys in. They're the ones that failed to protect the scene.
Yes.
As a police team who understands crime scene operations would have.
Yes.
And so now that the scene is contaminated, you're going to send this woman months afterwards out there to do what?
Okay. Sir Herb, I want to ask you a question. Based on your level of experience, right, as it relates to the United States Army and the rank structure in terms of where you reach, right, you would have vast experience. When you look on a, I would say, on a killing, on an execution like that, I call it an execution because it is what it is. An execution like that, where...
Remember what I said, Baron. The missions are kill or capture.
Exactly.
Kill or capture. So
Kill
keep
or
that
capture.
in mind, right?
Yes. But where I want to go, as it relates to the chief would have some level of awareness. And if the chief have some level of awareness, I am asking you, would the government per se, as it relates to the Prime Minister at the time, Mr. Bruce Golding, would he, I'm just asking, would he have some sense of intelligence pertaining to the situation prior to the army, those men, army men proceeded to the home of Keith Clark? Would the Prime Minister at the time have some level of understanding? I'm just asking you.
Bruce Golan was receiving frequent briefings, right? So we can only assume that he was briefed on every action before it occurs, right?
Okay.
So he would have to be the one that gives the nod, or the national security person or the justice minister, right? But the fact is, there was involvement with Dudus, an involvement with Dudus accountant, an involvement with legal affairs at Dudus on the part of certain people in the JLP.
Wow.
Right? So if you are trying to secure evidence that they handed Dudus all these contracts and they were getting payments from Dudus, keep in mind, follow me.
Following him.
Then you would have to go in to Mr. Clark's place. You would virtually have to kill him because he's not going to give up his records freely. That's his lifeline.
Wow.
And you're going to have to secure that evidence and destroy it or turn it over to whoever sent you there. So let's not be fooled by the shenanigans. Somebody gave the order to take him out and to secure the evidence against them. And it might have been not just against them, the JLP, but against them also, people in the PNP. So we're not going to be suckers and figure that this was Keith Clark going for a weapon and coming out shooting. I don't think a man of his education is that stupid. Right? So when you shoot him 21 times, that's a kill. You're making sure the man is dead. So the order was, in fact, had to be in effect to kill, not to capture.
Okay.
And again, with MIU on the scene, military intelligence unit on the scene, there is no way MIU is going to make a mistake like that and say that Dudus is in the house. MIU is well trained. They follow the salute acronym, right? Size, right? Activity, location, uniform, equipment. That's what they report based on. That's how you're trained in combat to make reports, right? And if, in fact, they all, I'm sure, had a picture of Dudus, there was no Dudus in the house. There was no gangsters in the house, right? There was absolutely no reason to enter that house after you shot it up with probably hundreds or thousands of bullets. You had no justification to enter. Okay. And the MIU should be the one to be held responsible in addition to Rocky Mead.
Okay. Because I would, Sister Maria, thank you for coming on to the program. Right. Big up yourself, Sister Maria. Welcome.
All right. Greetings, Mystic, Fabulous, yes. Anne-Marie, Brother Herb, Sir Herb.
There you go, Sister Maria.
Sir. Always good to see you. I'm just listening. I was listening early before I came in, and I'm like, listen to the wealth of information we have. What's wrong with Jamaica? This is what we have. We have this information, and I'm telling you, why is it we are so disrespectful of the great people among us?
Yes.
So Herb, my hats off to you, my brother. Much respect, much love, right. And to everybody in the chat, a blessed Tuesday evening.
All right.
Maria, trust me, Mrs. Nelson did not raise no fool.
Okay.
Right?
So let us break it down so the people can understand where we are going. Right now, when we look on Herb, as you said, the MIU, and which means in acronym, the Military Intelligence Unit.
Yes.
Right. They would have been the precursor, right, for that incident. And so then them being the precursor they would be allowed to gather carefully the intelligence.
Yes.
Right? And so then what you are saying, that they would specifically know that Dudus was not in that area or in that house. And so then for them to go there to say that they are in pursuit of Dudus, you are saying that that was a pretext for them to go there deliberately to execute Keith Clark. Is that what you're saying?
Most definitely. Without reservation. This was a kill mission. And they used the information from MIU would have given us an intelligence report.
Yes.
And like I said, follows the acronym SALUTE, right?
Yes.
And once you give that intelligence report, then the field commander has that. And the field commander knows who's there to rush elements of the army there.
Yes.
And leave out the police who are better trained in apprehension, right?
Yes.
Because there was no threat, no discernible threat was in the area when the military got there.
Yes.
Okay. And then you showed your power. You fired so many rounds. Anybody in that place would have been scared, would have messed in their clothes with that much firepower hitting the house. So they terrorized that family.
Yes.
And then you're going to tell me, without any authority, a lance corporal, 2 lance corporals, and a private move in and make the kill. It does not make sense. There's no explanation as to why that happened.
Let me ask you a next question, and I'm going to protect you in terms of this question that I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Right? How does it look as it relates to, Keith Clark relationship with Dudus? What was that relationship like, right, as it relates to Keith Clark being Dudus' accountant, and would have possibly not only him being Dudus' accountant, but might as well be the accountant for might be other members of parliament. Let us be careful now. Other members of parliament, right, as it relates to, right, that sort of corruption, crime, and whatever, drugs and all that operation, you understand, as it relates to him being the principal accountant, would have understood those operations. And so then his death was a means to silence him. Because if he was not silent, right, let us say now, members of the government would have been exposed. Is this a situation that we are dealing with? Are we do you believe that members of
Baron, I mean, you should have been an intelligence officer, because you can see the roots of evil within that activity. Keith Clark is an accountant. What does that mean? Let's look further. Which Clark family is Keith Clark a member of? Right? He comes from a political family. The current Minister of Finance is related. The then Minister of Agriculture was related. Right? The fact is, he was in this upscale area, and he had upscale clients.
Yes.
And he would have been aware of who is laundering funds and who's not.
All right, here we go.
Right? Dudus would have confided in him. Keep in mind, Dudus's mother worked with and for Keith Clark. So, and Dudus moved up to that area. Dudus was maybe a block or so away from where Keith Clark is. Same neighborhood. right? And I'll go as far as saying the rumor mill had it that Keith Clark was in fact Dudus's father.
Whoa.
Right.
This is big.
That's what the rumor mill has, and that's why they were so close, right? That in fact Clark might have had relations with the mother as a maid, right? And this is what's been alleged to me,
Yeah.
and that produced Dudus, because Dudus has that same round face features as Keith Clark himself. So you would need a forensic test, like a DNA or some test, to match from one of Keith Clark's his daughter, to see if there's a match with Dudus, right?
Let us do a drag here, right, and go beyond the extension of Keith Clark. So here you have a situation where 21 bullets,
yeah,
in Keith Clark. But let us make some reference as it relates to Jim Brown.
yeah.
Jim Brown's situation seems to correlated, right, as it relates to the possible reason for silencing these persons as it relates to Keith Clark and Jim Brown.
Yeah.
Jim Brown in itself, right? And as we know it, that his body was burnt, right, while he was in his cell. That pretty much is unusual, Brother Herb and Sister Maria. That a man in his cell, right, would have been now in confinement. And let us use our critical thinking as it relates to those corrosive instruments, right? Dudus wouldn't be allowed, right, to have those corrosive instruments that can cause fire, like a kerosene oil or whatever you use, gas or whatever you use, right, as it relates to how I would say difficult it is, right, for him to have something like that, right? And so then, for that reason, right, he was in himself, and then obviously all Jamaicans know what happened to Dudus. That appears that it is the same motive as it relates to his death that we are now looking on Keith Clark's death, right? Can you tie the correlation with it, Brother Herb?
If Dudus is the link. If Dudus was still doing business, accounting business with Keith Clark, it meant that Jim Brown was also doing business with Keith Clark. Clark was advising, because it had to do a lot with something that Integrity Commission looks at all the time: contracts.
Yes.
What contracts are given to whom, right? And where does the money go? Does the money explain the supplies and the labor charges on the contracts? So that part of it is tied to Dudus and Jim Brown. So when Jim Brown made a statement that he knows where all, I'm not even paraphrasing, I'm just giving an example. He knows where all the bodies are buried, and he knows who buried them.
Yes.
Right? And that's just me saying he knows everybody's dirty little secrets. And that if he has to come to America, then he will start talking. And he'll work out a deal for himself, just like Dudus has. Right?
Yes.
So let's just say that he signed his death warrant when he made that statement, because all they had to do was take a hypodermic needle and inject some nitro or something explosive in the light bulb.
Mm-hmm.
And the minute he went into his cell to retire for the night, the cell door was closed. He turned on the light, and you have an inferno in the cell, which he cannot get away from. Burnt to crisp. Right? So, you know, who was being threatened by that action? All the government people that did business with Jim Brown, to include the former Prime Minister Edward Seaga.
Okay.
These guys were under threat. So when he died, the threat went away. Right? So in his son's case now, the son being aware of that, the son had to take action to protect himself.
Yes.
And that's why he hooked up with the pastor, and that's why they were going around him dressed as a woman. And then when the capture was made, then word had already gotten to the U.S. Embassy that he was ready to talk and give himself up. The U.S. moved in and secured his release. And at that point, the government couldn't touch him again. Right?
Wow.
And of course, you see, all of what he had to say led to the resignation of the Prime Minister, Bruce Golding.
Okay.
So he must have dropped the axe on Golding and others.
Yes.
Right?
So let us so basically we can presume that the possibility of Bruce sings like a bird.
Yeah.
Right. Very well there. So we can presume that United States then have the lock and key for all the information.
They do.
We need to have. So they know a lot.
They do. They most definitely do.
They do know a lot. And so let us just wind it up as it relates to this report now that coming out as it relates to the forensic expert going 5 months, 5 months, Brother Herb, after an incident. That is just, a blatant way of covering up the crime. Sister Maria, let me bring you in here. Oh,
I could sit and listen to her give a masterclass all night long. And I have to say again, look at the talent that we have, and Jamaica is in need of such talent, and throw cold water and the expertise. Yeah, but back to piggyback on something Sir Herb said. Yes. Not only is Keith Clark the uncle of Nigel Clark, he's also the brother of Claude Clark, who was the Minister of Industry and Commerce on the PG in a PNP administration. So yes, you see how connected he is politically. So I don't understand how he got involved. Well, what politics makes strange bedfellows, Yes. But like father, like son. Look at Jim Brown's demise, and look where what has happened to his son. The only difference is that his son did not meet an untimely end. But you see that crime pays in Jamaica. But when you're ruffling the feathers of the right people, then it becomes a problem. That is the only time that everybody is scared straight. But I am not surprised that what happened with Bruce Golding. But then again, when you think about it, the demise of Bruce Golding unleashed Andrew Holness, and here we are. Yeah. But when talking about the gathering of evidence and this forensic lady showing up 5 months later to a crime scene, where on planet Earth does that happen? Who allows that? But then again, that was the Bruce Golding administration. Fast forward to SSL. Exactly. That was also a contaminated crime scene. What I'm saying? Because people were going in and out, and I'm like, hold up a second. Isn't this a crime scene that should have been secured from day one, being processed? And remember, the computers were stolen. So you see, everything, it's not that, I don't think it's a situation where the JCF are not aware of or not,
Yes.
or do not have the capacity and the knowledge and the know-how to do their jobs, is that too much corruption has allowed for them to do things that are underhanded and get away with it. Because nowhere in a sane, healthy, functioning democracy would this happen and heads not roll. Because the persons who are involved at the highest level would have been called to, there would have been an investigation, would have been called to books, and people would have been fired for being so sloppy with their jobs, because that is not proper police work. And I am not a law enforcement person, but common sense dictates that you have a crime scene like that,
Yes.
you would secure it and process it in real time to make sure you get all the necessary information you need, so that rain can come and wash away evidence. Anything can happen. People can contaminate stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that is what happened. And 5 months later, you want somebody to come and what? Is she Jesus? That makes no sense. And that is the situation that we're having in Jamaica, where when it comes to poor people, the hammer comes down. When it comes to people above halfway tree, then you have the staggering and these uncertainties in law enforcement, where people don't know what to do, when to do, and how to do their jobs.
Okay, very, very good, Sister Maria. I love that. But I want to make some form of correlation as it relates to, I'm going to make a comparison as it relates to the People's National Party and the Jamaica Labour Party. I know some people, now here goes now Byron, he has to put politics in the thing. But nevertheless, it is politics, right? And that affects us. Now, when we look on the history of events, right, that as it relates to Jamaica Labour Party, involved in situation of, you know, extreme conduct that have to dealing with, you know, extrajudiciary killings, right, and several mayhem. We have not seen, as it relates to that situation, plague the People's National Party. Now, if we talk about the 1980 election, we have seen the history as it relates to the Jamaica Labour Party situation, right, where, you know, of course, Edward Philip George Siaga, right, who had deal with the CIA and have the CIA stop, right, 50% of the funding to Jamaica and the suffrage that people experience under the Jamaica Labour Party, right? We have seen a long trail of history where that is concerned. So that is one of the reasons why we are discussing this. Now let us get into better life, because we are talking about now the post as it relates to Hurricane Beryl. Hurricane Beryl. I keep on saying Beryl. Hurricane Beryl, right? And let us show what the opposition is doing, right? Because Mark Golding is very busy in those areas, visiting, right, those persons, and, you know, offering, you know, good message and keep us updated as it relates to what is going on. And we are going to get in some intricacies here. So, without any ado, PL tour sections of Clarendon today. So let us just look at overlay number 6. Let us look and see how busy the opposition leader is. Very busy in visiting most of these areas. And I realized that Mark Golding visitation to these areas, when it comes to mainstream media, it's somewhat limited in terms of showing that. So we here on social media want to highlight it, that the opposition is equally busy, right, going around and, you know, try to have an understanding of the situation. So without any delay, let us play that, please.
Okay, so it's Friday, 2 days after Hurricane Beryl swept over the southern sections of Jamaica, and I'm down here at Portland Cottage Beach, and the devastation is frightening. Obviously, many boats have been damaged, boat engines. The shops and the shots on the beach have been destroyed, many of them. Nets and pots destroyed. This is the livelihood of the people. The economy of Southern Clarendon has really been terribly impacted by the closure of Money Musk, and really there's been nothing to replace it. So fishing is a major source of people's income. So just driving here through the communities of Portland Cottage, we have seen terrible devastation. Many houses are without roofs. Some elderly people, others with children are suffering now. With this, and of course, there's no electricity. I'm not seeing any evidence of JPS. I've been driving through the communities, nothing yet. And people need their power restored, obviously, I hope. And I'm calling on the government really to seek international assistance so that we can have linesmen brought here, as what happened after Gilbert. I remember, I think it was Florida Power and Light provided linesmen to assist with the reconstruction of the system, the power system, and we need that because we can't have a prolonged period without power. Water is also an issue. In fact, there are some three tanks that Mr. Joe Mafood had erected for the community, but the source has been contaminated. It's salt water there, so they want to empty those tanks and replace them with truck water, which we're going to have to try and arrange for them. But overall, this whole area is a disaster area. It's going to need major reconstruction, major help. People need food right now, they need water, and they need support. I saw an officer from the SDC taking some information, so I'm hoping that they will get some support soon. But I'm just putting my voice behind it because it's very much needed.
Yes, sir.
It's a disaster zone, and whatever declarations would support the infusion of resources here to build back people's lives should happen. Whether you need to do that or not, what really is required is for the government to respond and send in the necessary aid to the people so they can get back on their feet. Some of the houses, I think, really need a different type of construction if they're going to stay living here, because clearly some of the roofs were just too frail for the kind of wind that. But there are other roofs that survived, and so you can see that the materials that were used makes a big difference. And I hope that in the reconstruction that will be taken into account, because if people are going to live here, they know that from time to time this is going to be the reality of their life. So they need to have homes that are adequately strengthened to resist the very powerful winds of hurricanes that pass through every now and then. Yeah.
Speaking of water.
Well, at this point, I think regular visitor water trucks would be the first stop. I mean, they have some tanks here. I think they also need to distribute some water tanks to people. But, the supply of water is critical. I'm not sure what the general arrangements for water are in the community. If they normally get NWC water. Yeah. So, I mean, they really just need the electricity system to be working so the water supply can chip in as well. But in the meantime, water needs to be trucked here so that people can get water. Yeah.
Dozens of JPS poll are done. Do you think this may take days, even months to put together?
It depends on the level of effort that's put behind it. So if there's not sufficient resources put behind the reconstruction of the grid here, then yes, it's going to take a long time. But if it's fully resourced with the adequate push behind it, and as I said, I would think where we are now, we're going to need external help to make this happen quickly. It can be done more quickly.
So what is the appeal to the government now?
The government needs to, first of all, mobilize the resources and channel them quickly in the areas of need. We have various financial instruments that have been put in place to provide resources for disasters, and we need those to be drawn down quickly, and then they need to be distributed in the appropriate way so that the people here start to feel the help on the ground. And the key things are building materials, food and water right now, and the restoration of the electricity grid. Those are the main things I think people need. Yeah.
All right, thank you, sir.
All right, let us continue to show people how busy the opposition leader is, because the opposition leader is quite busy in visiting many of those torn areas. Right, let us bring up the number overlay 7, Jamaican attorney, and proceed with that. Right. All right.
equal rights to have their gullies and their roads because they're paying taxes. So we just want the government to be proactive and to give us the support as political representatives so that we can best represent the people who have lost their homes. We're trying to give some assistance, rebuilding supplies for those who are here and unemployed, who need food and the basic necessities. We're here to give that level of support, psychosocial care, because people who have lost everything, they definitely need that type of support mental wise. So we're there, we're offering counseling as well. So we have children who are on vacation, but it's summertime, and so they will need that level of support. So we're trying to be in the community and have a good natural support for the community, for the people who are affected. Well, I like to share that, Nuevo, despite what people may feel, is a community with people of different, various, calibers. We have people who are doctors and lawyers who live in this community. So I've been seeing a lot of people on the media trying to make the community look like it's somewhere where they should not. It's a squatter settlement. There are people with titles living in Nuevo, and I want that to be known that they just have their equal rights to have their gullies and their roads because they're paying taxes. So we just want the government to be proactive and to give us the support as political representatives so that we can best represent the people.
All right, let us proceed again with another clip to show how busy the opposition is. Right, let us play that one. So we just want to show how busy, right, the opposition is in several areas, right?
So here we are in Southwest St. Elizabeth. It's Sunday evening, some minutes to 6 o'clock, and we've been touring the parish all day. We started actually in South Manchester at Alligator Pond, and we went up through Bull Savannah and through various districts coming through until we're here. Where are we now exactly? Short Hill. Yeah, and all I can say is that the devastation is immense. The damage to the housing stock, the roofing materials, so many people are without roofs tonight. Many of them have to be catching elsewhere or, bouncing it in some way or other. It's really hard. And of course, the damage to the JPS network is also extremely serious, significant. We haven't seen any JPS linesmen or trucks or anything here today, but we passed some up at the top of Spur Tree Hill in Manchester. So it's clear it's going to be many weeks before they get through restoring electricity to all these areas. So the people are really facing a terrible crisis.
Were you recently injured in a slip and fall, car accident, or dog bite in Canada?
And the need for building materials is an immediate need. Last night it poured with rain here, and many people's houses are soaked inside because their roofs have been gone since Beryl hit on Wednesday. So we need, the nation needs to rally behind these people. We need to have resources deployed immediately to bring in building materials, zinc and lumber and nails and some bedding and so on as well for people to sleep on. And food. There are people that need food and they need water. So, it's a very serious situation. A lot of the folk here are fishermen and farmers, and they can't do any fishing because they can't freeze their catch because there's no current, no light to freeze. They can't get ice and so on. So this is a humanitarian tragedy we're facing here in South St. Elizabeth, and it requires an immediate and very fulsome response. So I'm looking to see that from the authorities, and I'm calling on the Prime Minister and the government to rally behind the people of Southern St. Elizabeth, South Manchester, South Clarendon, and the other coastal areas in particular, which we have seen, and there may be other areas we haven't got to yet, which are also affected. But the ones that we visited today are really in a deplorable state, a desperate situation, and something needs to be done, and needs to be done now.
Well, the devastation is severe in the parishes of Manchester and St. Elizabeth that we have seen today. The parish on the southern belt of St. Elizabeth is often referred to as the breadbasket. And of course, South Manchester is also heavily involved in agriculture. and we're talking about agriculture and fisheries. Now, my information coming out of some sources that I have is that we have roughly $1 billion as the estimate that would have lost from crops, and another $1 billion from infrastructure and from livestock. And as you can see, that the fisheries industry has taken a hit, whether it's persons, their vessels, or the fish pots, or the fact that they really just can't at this time ply their trade because they wouldn't be able to safely secure the catch that they would have. And if you look at it, the information that I'm also privy to is that about 30 to 35% of the poultry market is supplied by small farmers. And most of those persons would have lost those chickens, those poultry. And so you are looking at what is going to be a food crisis in the near future. It's going to lead to the government have to depend on some imports, but we don't want to see imports at the detriment of the local farmers. So there actually needs to be a planned approach as to how we recover from the devastation in St. Elizabeth and in the southern part of the country. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to see that. I want to also commend the residents, because most of what I have seen thus far in clearing the roads, ensuring that even if it's single lane traffic, it seems as if majority of it has been done by the residents and not actually by anybody that is in authority, not the council, not the NW or anything like that. It seems as it's just the indomitable spirit of the Jamaicans coming to the fore to rally around each other. And, you know, we really want to ensure that we can support these persons as much as possible. I know some persons will think that we are being critical. We're not. We're simply asking for a planned approach to take place. And those who are outside and not seeing the devastation themselves, they may not be able to fully appreciate the concerns that we have because they're not seeing the devastation firsthand. But I'm really concerned about where agriculture is going to be in another couple of weeks. And I am open to having dialogue and discussions so that we can have a brighter future.
You know, just
when I grow up, I want to be a weather person, so a meteorologist.
Now,
up the road.
Yes, let me just stop it there, because since we have our panel, the panel of solid critical thinkers, we have Maria here and we have Brother Herb here. What we are going to touch another serious subject matter. And this is one of the situations as it relates to after we coming off of the Keith Clark trial and what is unfolding from the Keith Clark trial. We make reference back to Jim Brown, and we are just going to show some serious situations that keep on befalling the Jamaica Labour Party. Now, what we are going to touch, the Finsac. And one of the reasons why I want to touch the Finsac is the narrative that being built out there, that the People's National Party responsible for Finsac. So tonight, again, we are going to clear it up. And we are going to get the empirical evidence. So for all those persons who, of course, want to create narrative and put Finsac situation, because I heard a popular entertainer, went on his platform, and of course, he highlighted Finsac. And the way how he described Finsac, saying that anyone who created Finsac, has to be so wicked, so vicious. And he did not hesitate to land the Finsac plate right in the People's National Party's lap. Now, well, I have empirical evidence. And before I go into it, let me just say this clear. This is one of the reasons why the Jamaica Labour Party, who asked to have deep investigation into the Finsac report, had completed the investigation. Now that the investigation had been completed, they don't want to release the Finsac report. Tonight, we are going to get into the details, right? And I wouldn't mind for that person to be looking on this live tonight, and I'm going to show that person solid evidence. Solid evidence. So this is how we are going to start, right? Because, you know, people threaten with lawsuit and people threaten bloggers and vloggers, right? Because they don't want the truth to come out. They don't want the truth to come out. And if you're suppressing the truth, it simply means 101 that you have something to hide. And that's the reason why you're suppressing the truth. Now, anything that Mystic Sensation is going to display, you can go to Google, you can get a backup, right, to say, okay, all right, Mystic Sensation is making the reference from this. No, anything that I have researched, let me tell people this. I don't research nothing with .com. .com simply means that all and sundry can just go on the line and just put up any information that they want to put up. Anything that I am researching, my people, anything I am researching has to be .org. Why .org? Because it is coming from a professional organization. That means whatever they say, they can be liable if their research is wrong. And every document that I'm putting up, it's either you're going to see it from mainstream media or you're going to see it from a .org entity. Simple means that don't blame Mystic Sensation for the source of information. The source of information is coming from established sources that the government also use. So if you discredit Mystic Sensation, in extension, you are discrediting the government source of information. So then, that's why I say that if you are saying, particularly if you're saying that Mystic Sensation is lying, please come out, identify the areas in terms of where I am lying. Well, if not, and you can't do that, shut your mouth and step aside. Let Mystic Sensation and Daisy and Herb continue to do the journey as it relates to good governance and hold them in check. Without any delay, let us get into the beginning, right, and put out this clip more, right, of persons who are threatening lawsuit. And yes, we are prepared, you understand, to bear that lawsuit, right? So let us put that out. Yes. Let us put that out.
Today I received a letter coming from the lawyer, the Peter Booth, the letter, as saying they're going to sue, they're suing me for $15 million. I say I'm to apologize for tweets that I have made and to take down such. I have apologized and I have taken the tweets, but as for the $15 million, I can only buy food for.
All right. Now, Sister Daisy, I played that clip as it relates to, you know, what the government find the time to do as it relates to wasting taxpayers' time, right? Hunting on social media, right? Listening out. I mean, Andrew Holness really has a lot of time on his hand. If Andrew Holness is going to spend all of that time, right, worrying about what social media is saying, this is crazy. This is really crazy. And taking steps. He's so worried that he's taking steps, right, to try all means of discipline, to discipline social media, right, warrior who is not in his corners. But when you have social media warrior who is running the propaganda on behalf of the Jamaica Labour Party, and I'm going to play it now, right? He has nothing to say. When you have Jamaica Labour Party social media bloggers who they had mentioned in Parliament, Sister Murray and Brother Herb, that these vloggers, right, are social media warriors on behalf of the Jamaica Labour Party. They have nothing to say. Now, we have seen these bloggers coming out several times, right, without researching their information, right, spitting out misinformation, disinformation, and the Prime Minister not putting them on check. But for the bloggers who oppose the Jamaica Labour Party, they are the ones being put on check. Now we have our Charter of Rights, fundamental rights, that protects the freedom of speech, providing that you are not defamatory, you are not blatantly defaming someone's character. The fundamental Charter of Rights, which the Constitution hinged on, give you that right to speak. And so then if you are someone who wants to suppress you, that person is a dictator, right? So then let us, right? And the thing is, remember, the Prime Minister is in a public office. The Prime Minister is a politician, a political representative, so to speak. And then why the Prime Minister doesn't want to be criticized? I just don't understand that. Any member of Parliament, any person who is in political office or making political representation on behalf of the people has to stand to constructive criticism. And if you can't stand to constructive criticism, something fundamentally wrong with you. You can't pull the line of arrogance, right? And then you want to have all the time, right, to spend on social media, as opposed to now you have serious situation as it relates to corruption that rigged the particular government. It is $1.7 trillion missing enough. And the Prime Minister is not finding any time in his column to definitely try to have an understanding of how we have 1.7 trillion missing. And whatever gaps are there, the Prime Minister is not utilizing his innovation, right, to have them remedy so that you seize the bleeding of taxpayers' money. Right? We have $600 billion, right? And as a result of that, not able to be accounted for as a result of poor procurement rules being breached, procurement guidelines being breached. And so the Prime Minister been there for 8 years, right? And don't find the time to strengthen those areas of vulnerabilities. But the Prime Minister have time to hunt down social media vloggers. We don't understand that. The Prime Minister have all of this time here to do all of that. Anyway, let us remind what the Prime Minister said. So wifey, remind what.
I know why you come to me with that foolishness, you know. You elect a Prime Minister, and is a Prime Minister run the country. It is time we learn to hold our leaders accountable for their actions and stop making excuses for them. Stop making excuses. Otherwise, go elect the people who really run in the country. And I don't want the right start that stupid argument. Hold the people you elect accountable and stop making excuses for them.
People, let me ask now. The Prime Minister asks me, and he asks you, right, as an electorate, that where you see, right, issues with the government, right, you have to hold the government accountable. Then, no, that me I do. That is what Maria is doing. That is what Brother Herb is doing. We are holding the Prime Minister accountable. Now, let us look at the persons who are blogging on behalf of the Prime Minister. And let us look at the propaganda that this person is spreading. Right? So without any hesitation, let us get into the Finsac saga and look who is spreading this information. Without any delay, let us lift up that tip, figures. All right, let us get into it, my people.
All right, so check this out. When I notice Mark Golden, and I'm talking about corruption, when he's talking about corruption, yeah, or anybody from the People's National Party, notice when I'm talking about corruption in Jamaica. Zane, check if you hear them talk about Finsac, one of the biggest economic meltdown in the history of Jamaica. Zane, check if you hear them talking about Finsac. You see what the PMP party are trying do to Jamaican people? Yeah? We are not supposed to sit idle and let them do this to Jamaican people. Right now, the country will move forward. Zane? And if you care anything about Jamaica, the trajectory where Jamaica is on right now, Zane, we don't need nobody where either benefit from Finsac, either were advisor, financial advisor, whatever it was, we are not to do it Finsac. We don't need nobody where they have anything to do with Finsac. If you come tell we know, but if we turn back. Yeah? Step off of the track where Jamaica is going. Jamaica right now, they're on a trajectory to become one of the top countries in the world in terms of economics. Zane? Now, if we go to the Finsac, Zane, the Finsac meltdown, the Finsac scandal, Zane, a whole heap of bodies we're not going to pick up. Whole heap of bodies. Know that. When I say bodies, I talk about whole heap of guilty people. Whole heap of people are complicit, guilty, beneficiaries from Finsac. And I'm going to do a full documentary, Zane, on Finsac. Zane, I'm trying to locate some of the people them who are still alive. Zane? But just a quick synopsis. A quick synopsis from Finsac. Finsac in the 90s, Zane, saw a lot of Jamaican, over 44,000 Jamaican business, Zane, perished, depleted, mash up, destroyed, disappeared under Finsac or under the PMP government in the 90s. Whole heap of people committed dirt themselves. Whole heap of people dirt themselves. When we say dirt, people dirt like people go on the earth. Whole heap of people dirt themselves through Finsac. Finsac was so terrible that you have people who used to have money and live a street now. I live on a road, I beg people. Finsac was so terrible that people who used to have them own home for them and them children don't have anywhere to live now. Finsac was so terrible that people that used to have wealth, yeah, Jamaican black owners, yeah, after run we go foreign and can't go back to Jamaica. I passed 2 hotels yesterday in Montego Bay that were destroyed, that were locked down because of Finsac, because of the PMP government in the 90s under Omar Davis, Zane, as finance minister. PMP have no argument when it comes on to no statutory declaration by Prime Minister. None of them something we hear them talk about. Mark Golden can't talk about Finsac. Notice him talk about how him love poor people, I know him want to come fight for poor people. Him not him. Remember, say Mark Golding say anybody where are going to politics and make money, a thief, you know. Means say him not going to politics to no work for make no money, you know. Him just are going to politics to go help out black people. Ask him what him not talk about Finsac. Here my call for Andrew Woolness statutory declaration to be certified. Or him not call for the Finsac report. Had that him for call for Finsac report because you still have people where bleed to this day because of Finsac. Andrew Woolness statutory declaration and illicit 6 when I tell the people about every campaign trail. It's joke. Joke when it comes on to Finsac and that. But you're not going to hear Mark Golding a campaign for Finsac, for the Finsac report table are released to the public. Because we are going to find out some people where did get, who are beneficiaries from what Finsac did to the people who that lost their properties, that lost their business and all of them things. We're going to hear too much name. It's going to lead to too much name. Some people who are billionaires now, Zane, they benefited off of the Finsac meltdown, the economic meltdown, where Finsac took over and pulled the people in property and sold it for less than where the government could have sell the people them for. In other words, the people them try to buy them property for more than where the people will buy it for. The people will get it. The people will get the people them property. Bought it for less than where the people them did want to pay for them own property. Case in point. You have a brethren, you see, we borrow a loan. We take a loan. And they said he owed must be 11 million in a Finsac. They sold his house for 3 million something. And tell him same owe, right? 7 million something. 3 million something, you know. But guess what? They would have never sell the house to the man for the 3 million something. Them sell it to somebody else.
Stop it.
So right now, if that man they even make a money like even with.
Okay, enough of that.
All right, gender folks, you know it's a mistake time. Because we give him a lot of time. Hey, Sister Maria.
Yes, yeah. I was becoming very nauseous listening to him because that's diatribe. You cannot be talking about Finsac. The government of the Jamaica Labour Party, Andrew Holness, has the power to release the Finsac report. If it was so damning of the PAJ Omar Davis PNP government, they would have released it a long time ago. And he wants to talk about people who lost money. He needs to go dig up the body of Edward Siaga. Where is Don Crawford from Sector 21 Bank? What about Paul Chen Young from Eagle Group? Are you kidding me? Where are the executives from the Eagle Crown Group that have now spilled over into and become SSL? What is he talking about? Listen to me. You can sit in the back of the class and learn something. But when you're fully dense, that's problematic. You will never learn anything because some people are so dense that there's no point in talking to them because I've been talking to the brick wall. And you're better off walking and talking to yourself than talking to some people. I do not facilitate garbage. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's just rubbish. And like I said, if it was so damning of the PNP, it would have been out from day one.
All right.
So let's get real here. Let's get real. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, the banks involved, and the thing is, what is Finsac? Finsac is a financial sector adjustment company. Let's get real here. Okay? What they had to create Finsac.
Yes.
To deal with the problem, the collapse of major financial institutions. That's what happened, you dingbat. That's what happened.
Yes.
And it is similar to what happened in 2008 when the government of the United States had to step in to rescue the country from that financial collapse. The government had to step in to prevent, because if America's economy had failed, the economy of the world would have crashed.
All right.
So the government of Jamaica at the time had to step in to rescue the country's economy, to prevent it from failing. So
All
when
right.
people are running, talking, you know, they're where their mouth is really there where their ass is, because it's crap that's coming out.
Exactly.
That's
Little
nonsense.
extinction.
That's nonsense. And
All right.
again, the government of the day has the power to put that report out, gentle people. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So if they haven't put that out, and if it, like I said, if it was going to shame the PNP and make the PNP look bad, it would have been out from the very time it was put out.
Exactly.
The report is there. The report is there. Why not put it out? Garbage. Garbage. I don't fall for garbage.
The thing about is Nigel sitting on it as if he's a chicken trying to hatch eggs off it.
All right.
As if he's trying to hatch chickens off the
Brother
eggs
Herb,
he's sitting on.
Brother Herb, before I reveal the investigation into Finsac so that the people can see it, right? What you say on the matter, because I just want to give you a say on the matter before I reveal the evidence, because I have it here. You have it here.
Here's the issue, Baron. And Jamaicans who argue Finsac are some calamity. Maria is right. Finsac stepped in and took over 200 or more different companies, banks, financial institutions, because they were trying to save them.
Yes.
Right? And at the time, the IMF and the World Bank and ADB had some crushing rules that they had to follow. Right? They either follow those rules or they put the banks and these companies out of their misery. So Jamaicans didn't understand that it wasn't just Jamaica at the time. It was Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Dominica, Grenada, Belize. They all ran into financial difficulties at the time, right? I'm trying to remember, Maria, when did the stock market crash? It had to be in the 88 or somewhere thereabouts.
Yes.
Yeah. And that impacted everybody up and down the line, right? So when these countries in the 90s were struggling after that, the IMF and World Bank had to step in and help them out.
Exactly.
Two of the major countries they helped out was Jamaica and Guyana.
Yes.
And the rest of the countries that I talk about, Trinidad with the oil and gas, Dominica, Grenada, and Belize, they all needed help. So when this idiot is trying to tell us that this is some massive scandal that the PNP will never get over, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
All right,
right?
All right, Brother Herb.
Somebody wind him up like a toy soldier and just turn him loose. Give him a script to read.
Give him a script to read.
It's him.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
but that's it.
Yes, well, we are going to set him straight tonight, Brother Herb. Not only that, we are going to set him straight by speaking, we are going to give him the original investigation from Wikileaks itself into Finsac without any delay. Right, let me reveal the investigation so that the world can see it. And this is what we want to tell Nigel Clark, we want to tell the government of Jamaica, right, to come and oppose this report. Right, come and oppose this report that we are going to reveal. Right, what we have here that we are going to reveal is what Nigel Clark sits on and doesn't want to reveal it. Well, Mystic Sensation is going to reveal Cable 5, Kingston report as it relates to WikiLeaks cable, right? Solid investigation into the Finsac saga. Without any delay, put up that report. All right. Here it is. And let us show people. There it is. WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks. Privy Council rules against prominent former Jamaican banker. Date 2005, October 28, and you have the time there, unclassified. Now let us get into this. Now, Jamaican banker, subject number 1, summary. Dan Crawford, former head of the failed Central National Bank, has lost his appeal to the Privy Council following a 1999 conviction in civil court for financial fraud, and has been instructed to repay about $45 million to the government of Jamaica. Although the Director of Public Prosecution has made a ruling on whether criminal charges will be filed, that ruling has not yet been made public. Crawford, who resides in the US, was once the darling of the Jamaican banking sector. He was often lauded by the government of Jamaica officials for his foray into non-banking areas at a time when investors were shunning the productive sector to benefit from the high interest rate regime. However, Crawford banks, which made a number of loans to connected parties, was soon to face a liquidity and solvency crisis and had to seek assistance from the state. Recognizing the extent of the deficit, the authorities took control of the bank and eventually charged Crawford for financial fraud. This is the PNP government that charged Crawford for financial fraud. Want people to get that and read with understanding. It is widely believed that his close affiliation with the opposition Jamaica Labour Party did not help its cause, as no other banker has been charged. Crawford lawyers are in the process of discussing payment, which, if made, would provide a much needed windfall to the cash trap right of government Jamaica. In summary, let us go to 2. The UK-based Privy Council on October 10th ruled that Dan Crawford, and I want Black Widow to come and listen, read paragraph 2. The UK-based Privy Council on October 10 ruled that Dan Crawford, a former top executive of the failed Central National Bank, must pay the government of Jamaica an estimated $45 million in principal and interest for unsecured loans made ahead of the bank's collapse in 1996. The Privy Council is expected to announce the final amount payable to the state when it hands down its written judgment later this month. The Privy Council's ruling arose from the appeal of a March 1999 decision by the Jamaica Chief Justice Leslie Wolf, in which he berated the actions of Crawford and another top executive, right, Capel Williams, who he described as rogue bankers. They were busy helping themselves to the bank funds. Wolf said in his judgment at the time, these payments constitute a misapplication of the bank funds. These behaviors is what caused Finsac to exist. However, Crawford, who reportedly resides in Atlanta, was once regarded as a model banker, and government of Jamaica functionaries viewed his bank as a blueprint. Crawford was often lauded by government of Jamaica officials for venturing into non-banking areas such as real estate at a time when investors were shunning productive investment to benefit from the government of Jamaica high interest rate policy. Let us go to 3. Ironically, it was Crawford's foray into non-core activities, which was partly responsible for the bank's demise, as a number of unsecured loans were made to connected parties to finance these investments. In particularly,
the bank made loans to companies owned by Crawford, Crawford's mother, and former opposition leader and Prime Minister Edward Seaga. People want to hear this? Let me read it over again. Let me read it over to the people, the evidence. So call Black Widow. Tell Black Widow to come over here. Come spend some time with Mystic Sensation, right? And sit into the class and learn. Let us read that over for him. Let me read that over to Black Widow. So Black Widow, like, oh, you know now that Finsac, the creation of Finsac, right, to solve the problem, was the doing of Crawford and Edward Seaga, who affiliated with the Jamaica Labour Party. None of them associated with the People's National Party. So, Black Widow, what you have to say about this, Black Widow? Are you going to abandon your ship and come over on the PNP side now to the fact that you know that, okay, PNP did not have anything to do with it? Let me read it for you, Black Widow, because it seems like your brain is just narrow and you just function like a crab. Let me read it over for you. You function like a crayfish, so it seems like you keep your feces in your head. Ironically, Black Widow, it was Crawford's foray into non-core activities which was partly responsible for the bank's demise, as a number of unsecured loans, you hear that, Black Widow? Unsecured loans were made to connected parties to finance these investments. In particularly, the bank made loans to companies owned by Crawford, his mother, and former opposition leader and Prime Minister Edward Seaga. The last time I checked, sir, Black Widow, Edward Seaga is not associated with the People's National Party. Okay, let us move on. One such loan was made to an affiliated company to construct the over 700-room Renaissance Hotel. I want you to get this, Black Widow. The unsecured loans to connected parties took a toll on the liquidity and solvency of the bank when they could not be financed. You must understand the source, right? The problem and what the PNP government tried to do when they created Finsac. This prompted the institution to approach the government of Jamaica for assistance. Black Widow, let me read this over to you. Because them in a mess, them in a them pasa, them in a them robbery, them in a them pilfering, them in a them stealing, any adjective you want to use to describe, you understand, their corruption. Guess what? This prompted the institution to approach the government of Jamaica for assistance in 1996 when funds were not available to pay the depositors. So, Black Widow, do you understand? In Black Widow, at what age did you go to high school? I don't know, you know. I don't know. Right? However, recognizing the magnitude of the deficit, the government of Jamaica was forced to take control of the bank. Do you hear that, Black Widow? Black Widow, have you heard this? Okay, let us move on. The Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, who was called in the probe the activities of the bank, ruled that Crawford, his mother, and top executives were to be charged for financial fraud. It is widely held that his close affiliation with the Jamaica Labour Party. Come here, Black Widow. Let me read this back over to you. Let me read this back over to you to show you that People's National Party have nothing to do with this. Read this. It is widely held that his close affiliation with the Jamaica Labour Party did not help his cause as to date. No other banker has been charged despite the failure of other institutions. However, the Privy Council ruling could well provide a precedent for other financial sector players to be charged. head of the Financial Fraud Unit in the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, DPP, Caroline A., was hesitant to comment on whether there were other cases pending against other former bankers. She suggested that MBOF write to DPP Ken Pantry for a response. Come here, Black Widow. The lawyers representing Crawford do not expect any criminal charges because of that uno expect no criminal charges to come in SSL. Sooner behavior, yeah. Sooner repeated behavior, yeah. Let me point out on repeated behavior. What we do with SSL? The repeated behavior what we do with the Prime Minister's statutory declaration. Uno expect no formal charges to come. See, China, in a paragraph 5. The lawyers representing Crawford do not expect any criminal charges to be brought against their client after their client rob up too much people money and thief the people their money. Go do all sorts of things and buy property. Do not expect no charges to come. You make me read this report and tell the people how to understand this. Although he was investigated by the fraud squad following the collapse of the bank, the lawyer said the next step is for both sides to meet and discuss the financial figures, the final figures to be paid by Crawford. If the debt is repaid, it would provide a welcome windfall for the coffers of the government of Jamaica, particularly given the continued underperformance in revenues. A point captured by a cartoonist at the Gleaner newspaper. The cartoon showed an expectant finance minister, Omar Davis. See Omar Davis, I want to try to blame, right? And Omar Davis, I tell us if he care about the people and money. See there? That's you know all I put him in a cartoon. See there, no? See there, people, them all I put him in a cartoon. See there? The cartoon showed an expectant finance minister, Omar Davis, inquiring of a distraught Crawford when he would be sending the people their money back. So Omar Davis, you understand, them all put him up in a cartoon and laugh off of him, while at the same time informing him that he could send it through a leading remittance company. Chief Fiscal Economics at the Ministry of Finance, Courtney Williams, told MBOF that if the money is repaid, then it would be more than welcome. But he is of the opinion that the government of Jamaica might only receive a portion of the judgment amount, and that the very same thing we're doing at SSL. Williams told MBOF that he was aware of a case against Paul Chang Young. See the people who come, the world who come look on this. Who come look on this. This is a SSL. This is SSL now connected with Finsac. Who come look, people. Williams told MBOF that he was aware of a case against Paul Chang Young of the former Eagle Financial Group, who also reside in the US and has written a book about the crisis. Take this away. Let me talk to the panel. Let me talk to my wonderful panel. So then, Sister Murray, let me begin with you. That is clear evidence of what transpired. Wikileaks report. These are professional investigators. These are not Jamaica investigators, you know, for say, okay, all right, a PNP biased investigator investigate it and put it out. This is Wikileaks. This is Wikileaks, an independent investigator, right, that went into the situation and ventilate the situation for us now to have this report. And where the report now is showing you. But Sister Maria, Brother Herb, wait. Since they are talking about it is PNP crime, let us show them Omar Davis. Because we hear Black Widow talking about Omar Davis, right? It is Omar Davis who tried, right, to fix the situation in terms of trying to create Finsac to get back the money. Now, let us now show Omar Davis begging the Jamaica Labour Party. Yes, Brother Herb. Yes, Sister Daisy. Omar Davis is begging the Jamaica Labour Party as we speak today to release the report. want to make people stop from believe that it is People's National Party what caused Finsac. People, let me put up the report. That is one of the reasons why they don't want social media vloggers like us to speak out and identify the truth. Nigel Clark, get up off of your ass and reveal the report. Now, let us go into what Omar Davis is saying. Bring up the document and show them what Omar Davis is saying. Let us get into it and bring out the truth tonight. Now, people, see here, we now make up nothing, you know. I want to see the date. Davis called government for not providing Finsac Commission report. Right? May 19, people see that? May 19, 2024. I don't have nothing to hide, you know. We tell them, sir, anytime I am doing my investigation and I am doing my research, it's either coming from mainstream media or it is coming from that I can't tell them, you know. I can't tell them, you think me I talk like Black Widow? I don't have nothing to show. Black Widow don't have nothing to show because he can't show nothing. The only thing he can show is lie. When I'm trying to tell the little GLP dunce head people them who they follow them. Now let us look. This is what Omar Davis is now saying. Former Finance Minister Dr. Omar Davis has called government for not providing a report from the Finsac Commission of Inquiry, arguing that it represents a major embarrassment for the administration. Definitely so, because it is Siaga and Dan Crawford caused Finsac, and is a travesty after the passage of 15 years and the expenditure of hundreds of millions of dollars of public funds. Talk to them, Davis. Davis, who was minister at the time of the financial sector crash in the 1990s, said in a letter to the Jamaica Observer that the decision announced by current Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark, the old dirty liar there, you understand, was inconsistent with good governance and further undermines public trust and confidence in the nation's democratic governance process. I same thing he might do with SSL, Omar. Same thing he's doing with SSL, claiming that FBI investigating SSL, and we know how that go. Clark, while opening the 2024-25 budget debate in March, had announced that all the information gathered by the Finsac Commission during its examination of the circumstances which led to the financial meltdown is to be published on a specially curated website and made available to the public in perpetuity. No, Nigel Clark, why you want to do that? Some people, if PNP, if the People's National Party is guilty for Finsac, why you want to do what you want to say there? Financial meltdown is to be published on a special curated website. Why not come up plain and publish it and made available to the public in perpetuity? Why you want to do it in a scraps and pieces, just like you want to do the Constitution in a stage 1 and stage 2? Why you want to do this? Nigel Clark, you not talk to. Eh? Why you want to do this? Right? You know, I've not hide. Unless Finsac is PNP crime. So why you want to do this? Now, let us move on. He also said that the finance ministry is to provide grants for academic research to be published, as well as the creation of documentaries on the financial sector collapse from which future generations can learn. The plain truth about the matter, una damn thief. Una damn thief. You understand what I say? Una stop from thief taxpayers' money and create all sort of mayhem. Right? Una stop the corruption. 1.7 trillion cannot be able to be properly accounted for. And that inclusive of 3 offices. The Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, and the OPM, the Office of the Prime Minister. which I say without no hesitation is the head cook buckle washer for all the criminality that's been taking place right now. Right? And spreading the propaganda about Finsac and PNP. So now, Mr. Black Widow, now you know, and now here is the evidence. You understand that Crawford and Edward Siaga, right, damage and caused the 1995 meltdown, financial meltdown, right? You see the PNP name in it, and the PNP name in the report. Well, no have to reveal it because the report is talking about Uno. You people are a set of fools. And you are not going to be, you are not going to stop, you understand, the puttiness in Parliament. Right? And that's why right now, even in the hurricane here, you understand, and grants and railway, blah, 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 Uno still going chop. Because when the original chopper, Clark did not give a date. You're still disingenuous. Clark did not give a date of the publication of the Finsac Commission archives. However, he said that the perspective on what he termed a defining period of Jamaican story, a defining people of Jamaican story, Mr. Una damn criminal, needed to be made available to the public as soon as it's practicably possible. So why not practicably possible? Put it out now so that Black Widow can read it and learn from it. Take that away. Sorry, my well-learned panel for the outburst. But as you know, I have to speak with that level of passion. You understand? So that Jamaica can fully well aware of the truth. We need a truth and reconciliation of this country, in this country, as it relates to the Jamaica Labour Party and the history of Jamaica Labour Party. Knowing to the fact that Dan Crawford and Edward Philip George Siaga, you understand, has done that to the Jamaican people. Right on the rise of that, right, Paul Chenyong, and which now SSL now becomes Paul Chenyong and Associate 2.0. Now, Brother Herb, please take it away, Brother Herb.
Let me say, just going through some of the reports. Back in 2017, Audley Shaw was the then Minister of Finance. And in the budget debate, then in 2017, he said in 6 months, and that this is, assuming this is about April of 2017, he said in 6 months, the Finsac report will be available, right?
Yes.
Now, why would they pull it back? You see, they smell the elections coming up in 2020, 2019. Exactly. So they figured if they released it, it would give a favorable overview to the people of Jamaica that Finsac was never the Dr. Davis' fault, that it falls squarely in the lap of Edward Siaga. Something you need to note, right? When the changeover with Michael Manley occurred in the fall of 1989, right? So it tells me that for a while, the U.S. had ensured Siaga stayed buoyant. He did not fail for that period that he was in. But because the people were going through all these austerity measures under Siaga, they were disenchanted, right? And that they managed. The rest of the world was having a good time bouncing back, except Jamaica and some other Caribbean islands, right? And the fact is, they dealt that hand for Michael Manley to play when he came into office about November, December 1989. They dealt him that hand to deal with what was going to happen with over 200 companies. And I put it here in our chat, the private chat, that
yes,
there was 68.7 billion at the time. Keep in mind, it was $1 to $6.50 Jamaican, right? And 68.7 billion for 1.5 million deposited with bank accounts that were bailed out. They were bailed out, right? Then you had 174.8 billion for 569,000 life insurance policy holders. They were bailed out. This is not failure. This is bailing out something that had been impending for a while because of the shenanigans with Crawford and former Prime Minister Edward Seaga.
Exactly.
Okay. And then 19 billion for 55,000 pensioners got their pension, right? And then you have, there's different non-performing loans and loan accounts that were not compensated, right?
Yes.
They had to deal directly with Finsac. But there's a lot of people were bailed out, in fact, and had Aldi Shaw to thank for bailing them out.
Exactly.
And that's the purpose Finsac was formed, to determine who was performing and who was not performing, and to save those people who were performing. And that's exactly what they did.
Exactly.
Right? They did, in other words, this is the third largest failure in the history of failures. Third largest. Only behind Argentina, and I can't remember if the US was second. Right? But the bottom line here is it worked for the intended purpose. You couldn't save everybody, but you had to save the important things like your pensions, your bank accounts, your life insurance. This is where people put their life savings in. And so, Shaw did what he had to do. And if Maria has a different perspective, but all this Shaw came true.
Exactly. Came through.
Shaw, I mean,
correction, Herb. Omar Davies. Not Shaw. Yeah.
Maria. Yeah, come to Sister Maria. What do you have to say on it?
Yeah, listen to me. I remember that situation caused a big furor in Jamaica because a lot of Jamaicans were upset that taxpayers are going to foot the bill for rich people.
Yeah.
So it is, he's talking like, the government. No, the actions of Central National Bank and the Eagle Financial Group caused a major crisis in Jamaica. Major crisis. Not only for the government of Jamaica, but by extension, the people of Jamaica, taxpayers. So it is not something that the government had to step in to prevent the hemorrhaging. And to date, we are still dealing with the effects of that particular financial crisis because we have SSL. But the difference with then is that you had a DPP who was working for the people and not for the government. So that is why Don Crawford was charged. You see, not only was it was investigated. It wasn't just put to the side like how you have a SSL. And as a matter of fact, the Prime Minister then, P.J. Patterson, did not have an account that was affected. He did not withdraw his money from the financial sector to say, no, oh my goodness, I'm taking my money out and I'm leaving NHT money in and tax. No, that did not happen. Right? And so it was a crisis that the government had to really take it on the chin and save the economy as much as they could. So how much of it has been repaid to the government right now? So when they're talking about Finsac, let's understand what Finsac was really about. It was saving Jamaica from rich people who have mucked up the economy with their greed. Because it's greed that caused Don Crawford to know that his bank could not go into all these investments and did it anyway.
Yes.
So Finsac was a blessing, and thank God for Omar Davies, who and the government at the time, who decided, you know something, we are going to have to take the beating from the people for doing this. But the bigger picture was trying to save the economy from any further demise. That takes a leader to do that. And if only we had a DPP who was not in the pockets of the politicians, the political directorate, then the head of SSL would have been charged, investigated and charged. You see, this one woman that they have parading in Jean Panton, she's just a scapegoat. Rubbish. She's just a scapegoat. So what happens then what is happening now with SSL? Had Ken Pantra had that same caliber of DPP been in office, somebody would have been charged and not a parade of somebody who's being scapegoat. So the Omar Davies saved the day, and they need to honor that.
Yes, and they need to speak the truth about that. They don't want to speak the truth. And here now you have Omar Davies coming out, telling them, begging them, pleading to them, you understand, to release the report. And they don't want to. Now, I mean, if the People's National Party, as my brethren Aromatic said, that okay, they have the gotcha moment, right, for the People's National Party. Why don't you reveal the report? You understand? You have the gotcha moment. No.
But hold on a second, Byron and Sir Herb and Marie.
Yeah.
Who forgot that they had a $33 million loan? Who was that?
Edward Phillips.
Who owned Enchanted Gardens? I mean, Okay. Who was he again? Was he the prime minister was he the leader of the PNP? I mean, let's be real here. Because Don Crawford and Edward Seaga were pals.
Exactly.
And nothing wrong with being pals with somebody, but you cannot be corrupt. The corruption coming out of those two was just mind-boggling. And we're still dealing with the effects of it.
And they affiliated with the Jamaica Labour Party. They have nothing to do with the People's National Party. Right?
Hello, SSL. There you go.
So when you have someone running out because that person is unlearned, right, and speaking about Finsac, right, go and research Finsac, right, before you come and speak on Finsac, right? Now, let us, and the tendency of the Jamaica Labour Party, and as it relates to them doing a lot of bad will to people, and then want to come back later believing that people forget, right, and try to sell their politics. Right? That's just a standard behavior from the Jamaica Labour Party. Now, here's a particular example. I'm going to show something here, right, where Minister of Information coming out, speaking out, Andrew Holness, right, spend most of the morning thinking about the Jamaican people, right, giving them, right, try to make sure that everyone has water and all of that. But I'm going to show the evidence here. Now, without any delay, let us play this clip. Yeah, number 8 on there. And PR is not going to. The thing about it, Sister Maria, the Jamaica Labour Party, equipped with PR, is not going to help them, you understand, as it relates to the general election. People fully know, right, what the Jamaica Labour Party capable of. And so then, no matter what
sort of public relation that they are coming out with will not able to save them, right, as it relates to this general election. So let us play that tape.
In the Jamaica Labour Party, we have a Prime Minister and party leader who, anytime you see Andrew Michael Holness out in the field, he's turning on water for Jamaicans who have been deprived for too long. He's facilitating Jamaicans who are in need, getting houses. That's what our Prime Minister.
Right.
In the Jamaica Labour Party, we have a Prime Minister and party leader who, anytime you see Andrew Michael Holness out in the field, he's turning on water for Jamaicans who have been deprived for too long. He's facilitating Jamaicans.
Anytime you see Andrew Holness, he's turning on water for people who deprived too long. Sister Maria, I want you to hear that, you know. Brother Herb,
when you see him out there, he's doing his job. Yes. So what? We should pat him on the back for doing his job, please.
Yes. Now let me remind Andrew Holness something here. And the clip that I'm going to play the clip for 6 years. 6 years. You heard what Fitz ended said, you know. And every time you see the Prime Minister out there, he's turning on water for people who waited too long. Now, let me play the clip and show people that this is a 6-year clip that I'm going to show it. I'm going to show. And as current, those people still complaining. So without any delay, let us get into the clip. Let us look. So we heard what he said. Let us look. Okay. All right. Let us. We're gonna have that clip coming up because as it relates to Fitz Henley, every time the Prime Minister step out, he's delivering water for people who wait too long. Let us see if them people get water. 6 years. I want people to see it, you know. This is there's down at the bottom tree. Look, people, put the cursor where the people have seen 6 years. 6 years ago. So play it now. Let's just show the people.
In Westmoreland, the National Water Commission, NWC, has announced plans to address water woes in the parish. This announcement follows protests by residents about the unavailability of the commodity. More in this report from TVJ's Jeline Pearson.
Welcomed news for residents of Westmoreland. The NWC now has a plan in place to address their water woes. The announcement follows a recent tour of the Bulstrode water supply system in the parish by NWC officials and Member of Parliament for Westmoreland Western, Dr. Wickham McNeil. Residents of several communities have complained that they have been without water for weeks, while others have experienced intermittent supply. Dr. McNeil said the problem is due to water supply systems no longer being able to meet the demands of expanding communities. He said the NWC will be upgrading the facilities.
They've indicated that there are two things they're going to do. They're looking at an upgrade of the Roaring River plant and an upgrade at the Venture River. At the same time, there's going to be an interconnection between the four suppliers because as it is now, there's not enough water in one supply at one time. There may be more in the other. So if you're able to connect them, and at present, the four water supplies, they're not connected. So they're going to work to connect them so they have more flexibility.
According to Dr. McNeil, the plans are in progress, and the NWC expects that within the next 2 years, a solution will be forthcoming to address the residents' concern. But as the work takes place to improve the water woes of residents, Dr. McNeil is urging the National Housing Trust to take into consideration the availability of water before building houses in the communities.
One of the things that we must be careful about, right? We badly want houses to be built. Right? We badly want land solutions for our people. You have to be careful that you're building the houses And the day after they get the key, they're calling the member of parliament and the council and asking for water because we're being built without water. And so it's important for us to determine how we're going to get the expansion so that we can get more water.
Jeline Pearson, TVJ News.
Now, people, let us go now to 3 months, right? 3 months. So which I showed you a clip 6 years as it relates to what Fitz Enley came out and said that every time the Prime Minister, every morning, right when the Prime Minister step out, it's all about giving people water who had been long awaiting. Let us get into 3 months now to show you that those are the same people from the 6 years that have been waiting, still waiting. And here's Fitz Enley trying to sell Andrew Holness the demons, right? The Hitler light, you understand, to be an angel. Now, this man is the devil from the pit of hell. Now, let us get into that. Let us show that clip to show, right, how Andrew Holness committed in terms of giving people, right, find the time to give people water. Now, let us show them 3 months, people. 3 months. Here it is. 3 months. There's a cursor. 3 months. Play that clip.
The water shortage has reached crisis levels, and some persons are now doing almost anything to get the precious commodity. Our reporter Dwayne Anderson has part 1 of this TVJ News In Focus series, Waterless West, focusing on the water crisis in Westmoreland and Hanover.
It's been several months since some residents in Westmoreland had water in their pipes. It's estimated that close to 60,000 of the 140,000 people living in the parish are without water most days. That's been the case since November 2023, and now desperation is setting in. Criminality has also crept in, and to the detriment of students. A water tank at the Negril Primary School was stolen by criminals. The act happened over the Easter holidays while the students were at home.
A man take it down off of the rooftop and disappear with it.
The frustrated groundsman cried openly. He's still in disbelief that someone would steal from the school.
You see, in this Negril place, the man them for put $10,000 together and make we, instead of we have 1 tank, we have 2 tanks, enough lawyer and doctor we put out, you know. Yeah, you know. You understand me? So them fi know themselves and stop take the little picnic them thing there. It's painful. It's painful to I and I as a groundsman. You see, and when I come and see the thing, them miss like that, you see, it's hurtful. You see, yeah, at time now we stop it and think about the children them and stop destroy them.
His tears, a sign of water in his body. It is in stark contrast to what's happening in the bodies of this farmer's goats. He says his animals no longer produce milk, and the results are devastating.
In dead water, man. Me have 2 barn and in dead. And when we check it out, that's why mother never get no water. You know, can't produce no milk if you don't get any water. You understand?
Stakeholders with larger investments are not spared. Stories from hoteliers are frightening.
Large hotels right now are spending anywhere from $2 to $5 million every week trucking water. A truckload, 3,500 gallons of water, is $40,000. $40,000. A small hotel in Negril is spending anywhere from $150,000 to $300,000 weekly trucking water. And on top of it, we will still receive our NWC bill for whatever water comes in. And in Negril, and wherever NWC has central sewage plants, we also pay 100% of our water usage for our sewage bill.
This document outlines the steps some hoteliers have taken. They pay thousands of dollars per trip to public passenger vehicles to take bed linen to other places to have them washed. This has left many guests frustrated, as oftentimes rooms are not ready after they've checked in. Hoteliers describe the situation as untenable. If there's no improvement, we've been told some businesses will have to close. Now the impact on households has also been brutal and extends to districts in Hanover. This standpipe in the retreat community serves hundreds of residents. But for the past 2 months, each time they turn on this pipe, all they get is a hissing sound.
Yes, it's a decoration. That's what it's here for no water in it.
You know how long me no bed? Over 2 months now me no bed. Why me have to wipe up the kids them for them garden bed? No water. We have to sleep and watch the water. More while we hear little nice out there, run out, think of water, no water. We don't know what we do, we can't cook. For 1 month now, me no wash, no water. And me have young baby. It's terrible, man, very terrible.
So what you do on a daily basis to ration the liquor water we have?
When we have to stand up and watch the water at night before day when it come. When my sister full up, in holla call me in the night and say, Joe, the water come full up. And by the time if you catch liquor water, go out again again. I think 3 days they catch half 1 drum of water and you can't have.
NWC customers served by the Logwood treatment plant are hardest hit. That facility is below 50% of capacity due to the drought. In the next installment of this special report, I'll tell you about the water operation, which residents say will be the next debilitating scam to come out of Western Jamaica. Reporting for TVJ News, I am Dwayne Anderson.
One thing I want to say, okay. So one thing I want to say to Fitz Enley, Sister Maria and Brother Herb, you can't paint Andrew Holness, who is Hitler-like, into a Mandela. Right? And I'm being clear. Right? So you have anything to say on that, Sister Maria, based on the comparison that we made? Here is Fitz Enley coming out to say that the Prime Minister is working assiduously. Right? And here you have the real reality that the people are facing, right, under the Andrew Holness-led government. You understand? I showed a clip. You understand? 6 years, right? And I showed a current clip. And as we speak, people in Westmoreland and Hanover currently going through the situation, having no water. What are you have to say, Sister Maria, where this is concerned?
Yeah, but it wasn't this bad because I remember having water in my pipe. I mean, if water went a day, evening by evening, water come. As a matter of fact, whenever there was, a water crisis, like in the summer, when there's a drought, then you know which days to expect water. So it wasn't that bad. But then again, where are they getting the water from to truck? Because they're giving people all these tanks. Then there are environmental issues with these tanks because you have these tanks in the sun. We put water in there, and we know the issues with the tanks in terms of the chemicals that it activates when all this heat. You put it in cold, have it in the sun. It activates the chemicals, so the water then becomes. Let's be honest. The water then becomes contaminated. So these plastic drums are not the safest to have. It is better to have concrete, where structures as tanks than to have these drums that they're giving out. But where are they getting all that water to truck? Who owns these trucks that are trucking the water? So the trucking of water now has become big business. Who is benefiting? And so I'm saying, why not spend money to build more micro dams or have water systems that can get the water from these major rivers like the Rio Cobra, the Rio Mino, all these places and into the communities, because I don't understand why it is they're spending so much money on tanks and trucking of water instead of investing into building sources that they can have a steadier stream of water. I don't understand it because it wasn't this bad. It was never this bad. So something went wrong somewhere.
I think what I'm getting from you, Sister Maria, based on what you just said, that you believe that the government is tolerant to the situation because of they could just fix the situation, but to the fact that and you ask who own these trucks, right? Who are getting the benefits of these persons not having water,
and they are using the truck to truck water. People have to pay for it, so people are making the money. So basically, what you are saying, I sense that you might saying that it appears that the members of the government, then it could be a situation of controlled drought, where in the essence that the government being tolerable to the situation in order to make money, right? Because they could simply fix the situation. Is that what you're saying, Sister Marie?
In a nutshell, yes, because I don't see how it is, because it's country I come from. I was born in Kingston, but I was raised in the country, and I don't recall us having a water crisis as severe as this that people are talking about. Because we know if you wake up in the morning, we always had water, and sometime during the course of the day there might be none, but by evening you get back water. But we always had water, and then we had drums outside and whatever that had water, but it was never this bad a crisis where for days, weeks, months there is no water in the pipe. When did that become a thing? And yet you have all these trucks trucking water, and they're saying they're selling water. I mean, selling water to whom? What is the source that is providing so much water for them to truck? You see that there's a disconnect there.
Yes,
and also, the people are washing out cesspool trucks and using them to carry water. That makes no sense. When did we start treating our Jamaican citizens like they're not even human beings? Who does that?
Okay.
Who does that? But I don't see why the trucking of water is big business in Jamaica right now.
All right. Very good, Sister Maria. I love that. But Sir Herb, I'm coming to you and I'm giving you a couple windows to look through. Here you have the recent local government election, right? And where PNP, the People's National Party, has been successful in winning many of those constituencies, right? Now, prior to the local government election, they did not have the water crisis as what they are having now. And it appears or it seems that, okay, after the local government election, PNP had done well in the local government election. And so then people are now facing, the water crisis. Do you believe, Sir Herb, that it is a situation that might serve as a punishment? I'm just saying it. Serve as a punishment as it relates to them losing big time in those areas that now been dealing with, the water crisis. What say you on it?
You talk about people who are so fickle, and their behavior so boorish and so deliberate that nothing surprises me anymore. If you're going to punish people for voting the way they did, right, then we see that the punishment where they used to let the urine run off in certain market areas. Look at the KCMC mayor now. He comes in and overnight, that situation is cleaned up overnight. So it tells me that it was left that way as a deliberate act.
Exactly.
We see where certain water sales and shipments of water, and you have to ask yourself, how did the catchment areas do with the storm that just hit Jamaica? How much of all that water that was dumped on the island were they able to capture? Yes. And these are the questions that the government needs to answer, because they have to have the technical departments step up to be able to ensure that the tributaries and the other feeding systems from the rivers and stuff into the dam, that they're working properly. But if they come back now after this storm and say, oh, both dams failed to increase by at least, let's say, 25%, it's telling me that what they're doing is ineffective. They cannot capture enough water to build up the capacity in these dams, right? So there's so many things that they need to do, and the sources that they need to use, as usual, is World Bank, UNICEF, and IDB, right? They need so many things to upgrade water treatment plant or build more reservoirs, improve distribution networks. If they're not doing any of these things, they're not improving. And believe me, twice now, I think it was 2015 and then 2020, they made promises that they were going to improve the water situation, that they were going to build what you call the desalination.
Desalination plant, yes, like in Cayman. Yeah.
All of these things that they promise. You know, apparently they should have been doing research and to effect this type of innovation, but it has not happened. The people of Jamaica have been lied to and made promises, and it's, you know, we've gone back to within 100 days.
Yes.
None of the promises are coming true. None of them are bearing fruit, right? So unless the United Nations come up with answer, which I'm sure they wouldn't like, because most of the monies that they've gotten, whether it's from the UN or World Bank or IMF or from the US during COVID, most of it was not distributed to all the people who should have gotten funds. So I'm sure they have money from that they use for other purposes. The question again will go back to good governance, no transparency, no accountability. Right? I am confused as to how these people have broken down the budget and with an aim to improve the water crisis. And this has been going on for 8 years. So how can they shine a light on this situation and reassure the people that it's within their abilities to solve? Turning on a standpipe in a district here and a district there, that's not resolving anything.
Exactly.
Right? You know, of course, everybody knows who Clovis Nelson is, and Clovis, the good doctor, been trying to get water for Northwest Clarendon, where he's from. And the fact is, with all the research that he put into it and all the suggestions that he's made, no improvement in the 8 years that they've held that seat in Parliament.
My goodness.
None whatsoever. So what is there left to do other than to make a change and to attempt to finally get some answers from countries who have been successful?
Yes.
Right? Because this Cuba have answers, the other island that's closer, Cayman, have answers. They all went through this and they all came out successfully. So it means Jamaica must not be applying themselves or doing the best that they can to resolve this issue. Again, this is another office that's in the Prime Minister office of the Prime Minister. All right. So think about all those offices in the Prime Minister's office. It's a scandal. None of them are functioning properly. No beach, right? No water. All the things that matter to the people of Jamaica.
Right.
The people don't have access to it. And yes, they can manipulate it in such a way as to punish people from not voting for them. That can be done. And you have to ask yourself, are all of these so-called crises legitimate crises, or
Yes.
are they in fact punishing those districts that they want to turn them green and
Yes.
not have them continue to speak out against the government? It's beyond me, right? You have a zillion program, Water Aid, Living Water International, Water.org, and other global solutions that Singapore and Australia went through to resolve the water crisis, right? Because Singapore believe piping water on the sea all the way into the country. So here's Jamaica, land of wood and water. We get all this rainfall.
Yes.
And we are still the land of wood and no water. For the people of Jamaica, for the underserved communities. But water is being shipped out, water is being sold, right? It's being exported, right?
Yeah.
So, where is the security? It's all a part of food security, by the way. And where's the security that the government is supposed to ensure that the country has when it comes to food production, when it comes to water production?
Yes.
Right? It's almost these guys couldn't care less. It doesn't matter to them. They got re-elected on lies. They got elected on lies, and they got re-elected on more lies. And now they're telling more lies again with the hope that they're going to get a third term.
Exactly.
I just don't see.
Exactly. They want to PR themselves, you understand, into the third term.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but 1 second there, Baron. Something Herb said earlier about he was talking about the 100 days and looking at what Mayor Swaby did in Kingston. And what we realize is that when taxpayer dollar, no matter how small, is spent on the things that it was appropriated for, things get done. But if it is being pilfered and you're taking the lion's share of the majority of it because remember now, prior to that, all you can hear based on and we have heard the tapes of who is sleeping with who and who is not sleeping with who, because Feder was being busy feathering. So he couldn't spend the money on the things that that were needed for the people. So that's why you had sewage water running downtown Kingston in Coronation Market, where people went to buy their produce, things as delicate as vegetables, exposed to this kind of element.
Yes.
In a system where the health system isn't working properly. So when the money, no matter how small, is spent in the area that it was allocated for, things get done. But if they're taking the majority of it for themselves and to run their private lives and to do whatever they want to do, then they give what is left to the taxpayer, and there's not much left to spend. So they have to make sham and clean up somewhere to make it look as though they're doing something when nothing is being done.
Yes.
So it's not that Andrew Holness could not have done things within his 100 days. He chose not to do it.
Chose not to do it.
Right.
All right. Wonderful input. Now, tonight I am going to, and I decide that, I'm going to save this for the last discussion, right? To be honest, Maria and Brother Herb, I didn't want to discuss this particular topic. And you have a lot of people in the chat, you understand, want to hear Mystic Sensation.
They want an update.
They want an update and as it relates to the sulfur situation. So then what I'm going to do, I'm going to play the clip as it relates to sulfur last response, right, to the situation as it relates to, wondering if he has been arrested, yes or no. But he came out and he clarified that he has not been arrested. So I'm going to have people to listen to the clip, and then, you know, we try to dissect that a bit, right? I'm not going to say too much because there are so-called too many variables that are playing out, right? But we're going to listen it, and then, you know, we dissect it. All right. So without any delay, YB, can you just play that clip? All right, that clip is coming up, people, as well. If you're going through to select that clip.
To the real world, Shopify is ready for that too. With a retail,
I am not in prison, at least not yet. People, this is not a joke, but I was advised by my lawyer that I am currently facing 15 to 25 years for the dumbest charge ever. While my house get broken at 3 times already and someone just drop, the system a try hold me, or somebody a try hold me, and real criminals out there. People, that video they want to see was not supposed to drop as yet. Normally when I go court, after I leave court, me reschedule that video to drop at the next court date, a date after the next court date. But the fact that the hurricane forward, basically the same day, the Wednesday, from the court date, I was actually advised by my lawyer, big up Scott James law firm, that the court date was put off, but I simply did not remember to reschedule the video. So the video ended up drop, and I did not remember anything about this video because I did this video about not the last court date, I think the court date before that court date. I did this video because I felt like this video was needed to be done. But the only reason why this video got put out is because the light went away. I had no light and I had no access to the internet or any electricity where I live. So that's the reason why that video was out. I was unaware of this video even being out. Yesterday was when I even realized that this video was out, and this was actually out. Like when we find out, like the police, me literally go to the police station, go report, and the police tell me, say somebody call, ask if me they are prison. I say if me they are prison. Then I say wait, prison. Prison. Oh, me don't know. Say me there. I say shit. Me they put out of it. Then me remember say the video schedule, and me I say shit, but me still never have the light. So I today now before me can even come and say anything. So people, when they are prison, at least not yet, because this is an ongoing court case, and based upon what the lawyer tell me, it seems very serious, very serious. Based upon the set of laws then where the Andrew them change up. More I know how none of Andrew EU friend them now gonna aid for help Jamaica, or them a help, but the money just not help because a large majority of Jamaica need light right now. Why the government?
You're just stopping it there.
Okay. I stop it there, and I'm going to speak briefly on this because for me, when it comes to mystic sensation, we do deep dive, right? And we try to establish the truth. Now, the situation is, as it relates to, and I'm not going to get into any form of deep details here, right? He said he has a lawyer dealing with the situation. And, you know, of course, that is that. But I just want to educate some people as it relates to a new particular law that was passed in 2022. I'm going to speak in respective of that law. Now, a particular information coming out of this situation was that sulfur was caught with what we call a BB gun. That is one of the information that is out there. Let me say this categorically.
I don't know if it is true. I have no evidence that that is true. Let me say that categorically clear. But let me say something as it relates to the BB gun imitation firearm, because many Jamaicans don't really know about this law, right? And I'm going to update many Jamaican youths, particularly our youths, about this law. You can get actually 15 years if you've been caught with an imitation firearm. Not necessarily means a real gun, right? A toy gun, a BB gun. Based on the new law that was, adjusted, you can get, I am going to bring up the Firearm Act for people to read it and for Jamaican youths to be educated. That if you have, right, because the law has certain stipulation that if you're under a certain age, for example, 17 and under, right, and you've been caught with an imitation firearm, you will not be treated to say as it relates to, a felony indictment, right? However, if you're above 17 years and above, it's a different situation. I have spoken with a lawyer. I'm not going to call a lawyer's name. And the lawyer and myself were going through, right, that particular law. So without any delay, I am going to just show that particular section of law, right, where, of course, if you're being caught with an imitation firearm, right, a BB gun, whatever, right, yes, based on the circumstances, you can get 15 years in prison. So let me know.
Just to say, guys, this is an ongoing case. It didn't just happen the other day. This is a case that has been going on for a while.
Yes.
If you hear it said it's next court date, previous. So this is not a yesterday thing or last week thing. This is an ongoing thing. But apparently, unfortunately, that video came out and it was a bit misleading for the public.
All right. So let me just, and this is the area that I want to address as it relates to awareness, giving to that situation in terms of, based on the information or the allegation, if it is true that he had been caught with a BB gun. I don't know if it is true. And you know that Mystic Sensation is not going to put his stamp on that. I don't know if that information is true. I have no evidence. I have done some investigation and I am not coming up with anything convincingly. Right? I am not saying that he's lying, right? And neither am I saying that he's telling the truth. What I am saying here, I am giving awareness. Persons who understand that they might have some form of imitation firearm and believe that, okay, it's okay. The law has been changed in 2022 and you have to be careful. So I'm just giving awareness where that is concerned. Let us bring up that law. Goes to page 18, I think. Page 18, let us page 18. This is page 18. Okay. This font. Goes page 18 on this because that is page 18, yes. 11, that is 11. Or page 18 on that.
14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay. All right. Here it is, people. An offender, let us read 18 here. An offender shall be eligible for parole upon sentencing a person convicted for a felony under this subsection. The court shall specify a term of imprisonment of not less than 20 years. The person shall serve before being eligible for parole. No person shall possess any asserted part for a prohibited weapon or without the appropriate firearm authorization. Possesses any asserted part of a firearm. A person who contravenes subsection 3 commits an offense and shall be liable on conviction, therefore, before a parish court, to a fine not exceeding $5 million or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 5 years. No person shall use or attempt to use a firearm or imitation. Here it is, people. Let me read it over for people to understand it. No person shall use or attempt to use a firearm or imitation firearm with intent to commit or to aid the commission of a felony or to resist or prevent the lawful apprehension or detention of himself or some other person. A person who contravenes subsection 1 commits a felony. A person who, at the time of committing or at the time when that person apprehended for any offense specified in the first schedule has in that person's possession a firearm or imitation firearm commits a felony. A person who commits a felony under subsection 2 or 3 shall be liable upon conviction, therefore, before a circuit court to imprisonment for such term are not less than 20 years, now more than 25 years as the court considers appropriate. Take that away. Take that away. So, people, as I said, right, that what I have been told, allegation, that he was caught as a result of a BB gun. I don't know what is true about that, an allegation. However, he's going to court, right? And if he's going to court on that, when Sulfur spoke about 15 years, then of course his lawyer would have advised him as it relates to the nature of the charge. Now it tells you specifically that if you use an imitation firearm, right, with any intent, and I'm not saying, me saying this, I am not saying that Sulfur use any imitation firearm for any intent. I don't know what the situation is. Let me speak that categorically clear. I am saying that the law exists, that we are an imitation. It doesn't have to be, right, what we call a lethal barrel weapon from which a missile can be fired from, that we call a gun. It doesn't have to be that. An imitation firearm, a tie, a board, right, if you use it under the pretense, right, to commit whatever, under that circumstances, 15 to 20 years.
So then I don't know the detail of the case. And for me, as an investigator, I am still people doing some investigation, and accordingly, I will do some update where that is concerned. Sister Maria, any say on this matter?
Yeah, BB guns. How do they get into the country? Who imports them? Because they're not manufactured in Jamaica. So who imports them? So instead of clamping down on the young people who buy BB, and by the way, a lot of people have, young people have BB guns, they go to the woods and they play with them. And yes, people can use it for nefarious things as well. However, they should start prosecuting the people who bring in these things first of all. So if you don't prosecute those people for bringing in these things, then you cannot be holding somebody down the line accountable for it. And another thing, the Prime Minister and his team has this technology to find innocent people, speaking out against them, because you played earlier where one man was sued, $15 million. I mean, when did the truth become a lie? If it's against the government, it's a lie. And I want to say, back in 2016 and 2020, when they were using social media to get where they are, I didn't hear anybody complaining and asking anybody to be tracked and traced and held accountable for anything. So I don't know why not is a problem that social media is being used to hold him accountable. It is now a problem. And so I would like to ask of Andrew and his government, so why haven't you used that same system to find the missing children? Why haven't you used that same system to find people with all these high-powered weapons that are wreaking havoc on innocent Jamaicans? Why haven't you been able to use that same system to find out who is bringing in coke into the country, all those coke port finds, all those guns that are coming in? Why haven't you used that system to find those people? So it tells me that this is politically motivated, and he's not really serious about fighting crime and addressing the crime issue. Because if he was, then that same technology that he speaks about, he speaks so eloquently about, and his followers and people who are, sympathetic to the Jamaica Labour Party have been putting information out there about tracking and tracing people and finding them or what they're going to do. And the Prime Minister has not come out to condemn that kind of action. So it means that he's condoning that and justifying those kinds of actions against Jamaican citizens. So I say to the young people, you better wake up, because Andrew does not care about you, and he's taking your rights away and using anything to take your rights away. And to the parents who are running up and down behind Andrew Holness and talking about shower labor rights, first of all, I shouldn't even be using the word shower because of the meaning of the word shower anyway. And the connection to the word shower posse, to the shower posse. So that should not be used. That's another story. But I'm saying to the parents of young people and the aunts and the uncles, be wise, be informed, be edified, be educated, know what is on the books, know what the laws. The same thing, they're trying to reform the Constitution, but they're reforming the Constitution, and the current reform of the Constitution takes away your rights. They have given themselves rights to do anything to you, and you have no recourse to hold them accountable. Wake up, people. This is not a joke. It is serious. And I say again, the same technology that he's using to find innocent people who are doing their constitutional right of free speech, why not use it to find actual criminals? Why not use it to show the country that, something, you're in fact doing something about crime? And please, can you find those missing children in that same technology, and who is bringing in the coke? That's all I'm asking.
Well, Sir Herb, you know that your level of expertise, you are the man as it relates to this particular area, as it relates to investigation, your experience, your background is a wide wealth of knowledge, and that is one of the reasons why we have you here. Sir Herb, your input as it relates to the BB gun, the imitation firearm that Andrew now legislate in law, right, that now you can get 15 years. It becomes now an indictable offense. What say you, sir? We like your knowledge to impart on this.
I have not heard anybody requiring a license to own or to carry a BB gun, right? And BB is the ball bearing, right? Toy. It's a toy. And they have some replicas that closely resemble actual rifles.
Yes.
And possessing an imitation firearm in public is when it leads to consequences, right? But then they say, no, unless authorized by a valid license, possession of a prohibited weapon or any other firearm or ammunition is illegal. But they're not requiring these companies that are bringing in these firearms to airsoft and BB guns are being mailed to Jamaica, right, by online sellers, right? There are other dealers that are actually importing the weapons and selling it in Jamaica. Now, if they wanted to track and trace, that's the ideal thing you want to track and trace. Who's bringing these airsoft and BB guns into Jamaica? And who's it being sold to? The police can track and trace that. And if they can find it, then they can charge the person who has possession, right? So if you cannot find people in possession of these weapons, if you're calling it a weapon, then you got a problem, because I don't believe the intent of the young kids that own these BB guns or airsoft weapons, that their intent was to go out in public and actually create mischief. That's not their intent. And so with charging these young kids, you have to have an intent. That's what prosecutors look at. What was the intent of going out in public with that in your hand? Was it to create mischief? Was it to shoot somebody's eyes out? Was it to shoot somebody's windshield out? What was your intent? Right? Now, they can do so many things in searching for the owners of BB guns. They can look at the store owners' sales records, and they can match up the sales records with people's addresses, if you want to go that far. But quite frankly, Jamaica is not worried about BB gun ownership because they hardly ever go after people with BB guns, right? Now, I can tell you this much. Of all the weapons that I have seen, right, the people that they've gone after, give you an example here. Gary Shevington case faced charges for illegal possession of a firearm and ammunition. He was found with a 9mm dual action BB gun containing live rounds. The court considered the Firearms Act and sentencing guidelines with a usual starting point of 10 years for such offenses. A journalist was arrested, and that Gary case was back in 2020. 2022, a journalist was arrested after being found with imitation firearm and magazine at a checkpoint. The magazine was authentic, leading to charges. So they can arrest you for even having holsters. A holster is not a weapon. But I brought in holsters for a police superintendent and a member of a security company. And they wanted to arrest me. That these things were not allowed. A holster of all things. They took 15,000 Jamaican dollars from me as a fine.
Wow.
Right? And the fact is, when the importation was okayed by the Ministry of National Security, and I attempted to get my money back from the customs, they started playing games. They didn't know where the money went to. They didn't know who at custom headquarters had gotten it. All of this nonsense. So I said, you know what? I'll walk away and leave it, right? Because it was Montague himself who signed the authority for me to bring the holsters in. Now, here in Clarendon, 2 people arrested in Clarendon after imitation firearms were seized during a home search. Mollines Road, 2 men were taken into custody for attempting to use imitation firearms during a robbery along Mollines Road. This is 2024, only 2 incidents. So it shows how rare this is. And of course, with this young man, his would be a 3rd incident for 2024. So, why allow it into the island? Why allow importation in high numbers when you can't track or trace who has the weapons?
There you go. It makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And I'm sure the police must be miffed or baffled by any attempt to enforce this law. It's a stupid law and it needs to go, right? BB guns should be exempt or should not be allowed to be imported, period.
Yeah.
You know? But, they want to play games. They can, and I tell you, I'm willing to bet you the kids up in the hills, I'm talking about Beverly Hills, Forest Hills, Jacks Hills, I bet you they don't get hassled when they have a BB gun.
You see what I'm saying?
Right?
But Sir Herb, they are more likely to have BB guns than poor children.
And this is why I say if they track and trace who bought BB guns in Jamaica, they know who's selling it.
Yes.
Because I was able to find who sells it. I was able to find the source of who imports it. So if I can find that, I know the police can find it also.
Yes, man. Herb sent the information to me as well.
But the bottom line, Maria, is they have no interest except when it's some poor kid in an underserved community that they want to shut up, right? So they find a charge to slap on them and then threaten them with 20 years imprisonment. Right? If it's his first offense, it's usually, they say, between 7 to 15 years, and the starting point has been 10 years. But that's if you have an imitation firearm, which I consider ghost guns to be in that, well, that's an actual gun, right? But I would think that if you made a BB gun from a printer, then that's an imitation right there, right? So that to me, it's silly. It's a silly law, silly rules. It's poorly enforced, and it's only enforced against poor people.
Well, that coming like the seatbelt law.
Yeah,
that is going.
It is. You're absolutely right about that. You're absolutely right about that.
All right. So you know what? I am not going to have my panelists extended beyond the time that we plan, and I think that they have done extremely well, and I really bless and give thanks for the time that they have spent. So that is our final clip for tonight, and I want to say a big thank you, Sister Maria, a big thank you, Brother Herb, right, to make it Mystic Sensation. I really enjoy tonight subject matters and how the critical minds are breaking it down. Thank you to pass through Mystic Sensation.
You're welcome, and I always like being on this platform, and the chat is so lively and engaging. You learn so much just from listening to these. And I have to big up Freedom. She talked about a book, Night by Elie Wiesel. Please, anybody can get their hand on that book. It's a worthwhile book to read. And another one is the autobiography of Frederick Douglass, in his own words. And it will wake us up as people of color, as Black people of African descent, to understand that our history is not something to play with. Where we are in this world is something that many thousands, hundreds, millions fought for. So we cannot take it lightly. We stand on the shoulders of millions. So we have to wear our crowns well and take our place in this world seriously and do what we can and we must to make it a better place than we came and saw it.
So true. So true. All right.
The mystic sensation and dynamic duo. What can I
do? Thank you.
And Maria, it's a pleasure anytime you are on anywhere. Let me say this to you folks. I'd left one detail out of our earlier discussion. And one of the things I should point out, when Darrell Vaz took 50,000 in cash from Dudus to pay this Manat law firm here in Washington to help Dudus stay out of jail and not be deported, they charged Darrell Vaz with money laundering.
Wow.
Why? Because Dudus has no fixed, well, he has a fixed address, but he has no job, no fixed income.
Exactly.
Right? So naturally, anything he produces is laundered money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when he bought his house, a certain JLP lawyer did the transaction.
Wow.
And of course, that house, I'm sure, was bought for at least maybe, let's say, 40, 50 million.
Wow.
Up there in the hills.
Yes.
Right?
Possibly more.
And so that JLP lawyer allegedly and is rumored to be a certain minister of justice. So you ask yourself, can the thunder roll any louder?
No, it's quite obvious.
Maybe we should invite that minister of justice. I didn't call no names.
Yeah, we didn't call any names.
And ask him that question directly. Did you do a contract for Dudus's house so he could buy that house? In any case, he should be interested in who did the contract.
Exactly.
The money is laundered funds.
All right.
Just like when Darrell Vaz took it. Right? So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Not my words.
Not my words.
Not my words.
And to talk about that.
What, Sir Herb? Is this the Darrell Vaz who talks about morality of the Constitution when in regards to Mark Golding? I mean, you know, that's a stretch.
Absolutely. And now this other Minister of Justice, he's a morality man too.
Yes.
Right?
So you know that Herb. All right. Wonderful show tonight.
Sir Herb, you cannot make this up.
Yeah, I mean, they keep slipping and sliding into
what my wife said. So so Thursday, people remember to catch Mystic Sensation on the Titans. Right, of course, that is where we ventilate the issues of the week. And of course, Mystic Sensation on Friday, right? We are going to break down the statutory declaration. By now on Friday, of course, we will equip ourselves and we will be coming out with the statutory declaration that was tabled. So ladies and gentlemen, until then, Maria, big up yourself.
Brother Herb, love you.
Much respect. Sir Herb, we shall speak. Blessings every time. Anne-Marie, Baron, good night.
Blessings to all. You have a great night. All right.
Blessing.
Thank you. Okay, so thank you guys.
All right, to all the people in the chat, right? Love you all, right? And we are happy for you to pass through and spend your moments with Mystic Sensation, right? Without you, there cannot be any us. It is you that continue to give us the strength and the energy to go on. We love you so much. Wonderful night and have a happy rest of the weekend, right? So to speak. Great show. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a wonderful and blessed night, guys. Until Thursday with the Titans.
Thursday with the Titans, and
we'll
of
be
course,
back on Friday.
yes.
Thank you so much, Chuck Life. Happy to have you. You got your light back.
All right.
All right, guys. Have a wonderful and blessed night.
All right.